Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have Jimmy with us who placed top 8 with it. You got top 16 or top 8 with this deck?
I got 10th. Yeah,
10th, okay. Top 16, X1 in the event. You were also the pair down, so you did lose the pair down undefeated, which means that the tournament ended a round earlier, which kind of explained your X1 10th place there. But you did it with the Reboot Beerus, which I think a lot of people was really surprised with. They really wanted to see this list. They wanted to see your opinion on it and everything. And I think it was a really, really cool finish. So why have you been playing this leader specifically?
So I got on this leader because our group chat was kind of talking. It was right when Bulma was kind of taking community by storm when Danny won with it. And I was kind of half joking, like, oh, well, you know, if some of these decks are taking a really long time to kill you, and if the format in general is just kind of slow, like, what if Beerus could get to 16 and just not worry about taking their life and just ending with 16 energy? And the more I played it and the more I went up against Gamma and U7 and in our testing, I found that this deck could get to 16 energy pretty quickly and actually could hold its own in the current format.
Cool. And so when I originally thought this video, saw this deck and for my breakdown video, I'm like, oh, it's just, you know, generic blue stuff. I doubt he got to 16 once or twice this tournament. You said you got to the 16 energy win condition every time you played this.
Yeah, so I went 6-1. I was 6-0 going into, which was supposed to be, like you said, the second to last round. Then I lost a down pair, ended the tournament. But all those 6 wins were getting to 16 energy.
Yeah, which is
every single game.
Yeah, really, really absurd. Though, I mean, I guess looking back, like SS4 gets a lot of energy. There's a bunch of ramp with the SS4 Vegeta. You know, ramping 4 in a format that you're not very afraid to just hard casting it right now is can be very, very strong. So anyways, for people who don't recall what this leader does, so on the front side, and this is the reboot version of it too, when this card attacks a leader card, which kind of stinks it's specifically a leader, but choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, any cost 2 or less, and KO it, or you get to draw 1. The little removal stuff I think is kind of nice too if you need to. And then when you have 4 or more energy, or when your life is at 4 or less, you draw 1, choose one of your energy, switch to active mode, and flip it over, which is quite easy to do. Like, you can awaken with this turn 3 pretty consistently as long as he Whis turn 1 and it doesn't die.
Yep. Yeah. If you see the Whis, which is kind of you already touched on it, the attack and the leader part is really the major drawback for me for Beerus. It's the worst part. It's such an old card that it's held back by it has to attack a leader. So I had to give my opponent resources on the front side, which turns out to be usually I only end up attacking the leader twice. I play a Whis, and then resolve it next turn, and then the following turn I end up awakening, and so yeah.
Cool.
Again, the awakening at 4 energy is really nice.
And that just means, like, consistently you probably awakened with like 5, 6 plus life every time, yeah?
Yeah, usually 5 life.
Okay.
Is, the point that I awaken at, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because you also, like, you want Zeno to be able to be online, and also Chilled Army reinforcements, because those are, you know, they need to be at 5. And then on the awakened side, so apparently when your opponent's life is at 4 or less, anytime this card would deal damage to your opponent, choose up to 1 card in your draw pair, placing your energy in rest mode. And also when this card just attacks, so it's upgrade on the backside, you get to pop something 3 or less or draw a card. And of course the big boy 16 energy play to just simply win the game.
Yeah, so the permanent never came up. My opponents really never went down to 4 life, which was great. I usually most of the time I kept them at 6.
Yeah.
So Chilled Armies, reinforcements, or, you know, any of those blocker negates rather weren't live. And a lot of my opponents ended up charging their super combos. I had round 2 and 3, I played Trunks Vegeta, and I believe both of them started charging their Krillin super combos because I wasn't punching at their life at all. The ability to KO a 3 or less is actually way better than I think people give this leader credit for. I played against U7 round 4, and I had 2 energy. I didn't see a Whis, so I swung because he had punched me down and I had awakened early. Just doing U7 stuff, Frieza.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
17. Yeah. So I swung at his leader. Beerus effect, I KO'd his Aandroidd 17, and then Beerus destroyed and bottom decked his Frieza. So I effectively cleared his board and had energy up for next turn for D magic or Sensu Bean or whatever I needed. So
Cool. Yeah, and I think like I think just the idea of this, it's just very control heavy. It's probably one of the heavy control decks. And yeah, right now there's not a lot of aggression in this meta. U7 is probably one of the most consistent aggro decks, but it's even, it didn't get a lot of tops or any tops in Gen Con. So I think people are kind of waiting around it. And between like Gamma and I think Trunks Future, I think those are the two to beat right now. Both those decks just don't self-awaken themselves very much, and they just try to do like a very end game grindy thing. And if you just don't give them any resources, if you don't let them have their super combos online, if they run those, you can get a lot of advantage and just feel like they just can't do a lot of things.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my two Trunks Cheetah matchups, it was mono yellow round 2 and then blue yellow round 3. Against both of those, I ramped up to 15, and then because of Boo Unison, which by the way, ramping to 3 and then charging to 4 in the next turn, and then slamming Boo Unison down on turn 3 is, in my opinion, one of the strongest things you can do right now. It is so good. It's hard for them to get rid of it.
It just generates so much, and like that's what's happening on the SS4 Vegeta too. Like that deck, the Yellow ramp, or even like the SS3 reboot, getting this out on turn 3 just means you get so much value through the course of the game.
Yeah, and with SS4 Vegeta ramping 4, because I always ramped 4, which is why I ran 3. I ran 3 Zeno super combos. Yeah, it always ramps 4. I don't have to worry about ever putting something in my energy. I can pick it up later with Zeno if I need. Because I want to ramp 4 every time so I can hit my curve. Because my curve ended up being on 6 energy, I would ramp to 10. And the next turn I would charge to 11. And then another Vegeta, and I would ramp to 15. And I would have to survive that next turn. So it was really nice. A lot of my games ended with ramping to 15. Having 4 up because of Vegeta and untapping 1 with Boo. And then on my opponent's turn, if it was Trunks Vegeta and they're going to 6 energy, I would wait for them to invest in energy, and then I would hatch and then follow up with a monkey on their cooler. And that happened frequently.
And like again, like this card I think is super powerful what it is, and being able to add the top 4, meaning that even if you get that hatch, you can just Zeno it back to your hand and then play hatch afterwards. So being able to have like that duality I think is very, very strong. And so quickly doing the math, so turn 1 you're at 1, turn 2 you're at 3, and then turn 3 you're at 4, turn 5 you try to get to play Vegeta on which turn technically, like turn 4?
So Vegeta usually comes out turn 5.
Okay, turn 5.
I'm gonna energy up, and then sometimes, so I run the 2-drop Kai as well. I've had some games, so when Beerus is at 5 energy and you're at this weird, like, you're a turn away from Vegeta and you need some things to do, you can either play another Boo Unison to draw another card, especially if they punch your Boo Unison down, you can just replace it. Or I have had games where I've resolved 2 of these cards, and then the next turn I resolve 2 Vegetas in 1 turn.
Because one just because it puts them in active mode, right? So if you have just 8 energy, you can resolve 2 almost immediately, and that's quite good.
And then just you spam all this stuff into your energy, and then it's really hard. And then your Kales become live really quickly. You can start threatening more with monkeys. It's really strong having all this energy up for things like your Vegeta Floodgate, your Gohan Floodgate, stuff like that.
And like the Gohan having like a mini Topo effect is good, and Vegeta Rated Rumble is just a fantastically obnoxious card if you're able to get it out correctly.
And it gets around like Vegeta Resolve Renew and stuff like that, so they can't hit that, so it's pretty safe a lot of the time. So unless you're playing the mirror match and they like Trunks God Sealing, which again, God Sealing hasn't been doing as much right now, especially because Gamma can't really comfortably run it either. The only really cards that didn't really see play, actually I didn't play the 6-drop Goku Negate. The Deadly Defender, I didn't play him once. Didn't really have a good spot where I'd want to play him. A lot of times I'd rather play a Vegeta. Because Trunks Vegeta, the Vegeta can just KO it through barrier anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
I would never play it against yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather play Vegeta was more threatening against yellow. I felt like because they definitely didn't want to lose their energy.
Yeah.
Gamma too. So most of the time that card was charged. I didn't play Aandroidd 17, Turning the Tide, but he was there just because that card's insane.
Yeah, you can't. You kind of have to run him, like just in case. Yeah.
So Tragedy Overground won me my round 6. I had 9 energy. My opponent was playing a really spicy Gamma list, and I was stuck on if I wanted to kale his board away, or if I wanted to Tragedy Overground and then just survive the next turn.
Yeah.
And I slammed down Tragedy Overground, tapped out, and then passed my turn, untapped one with Boo. And then my opponent charged a Perfect Force Cell.
Yeah, because they're like, yeah, well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That is the correct call on that one. And of course, like they can't do anything with that card anymore with Tragedy Overground out.
Yeah, and it turns off most of their cards. It's non-threatening, and then all they're playing are 15Ks, and I run 4 beans. So if they start playing their 15Ks, I just Sensu Bean up, and it's really hard for them to invest cards over that. And then once I untap and Tragedy Overground's out, it's almost a guaranteed win. It's really hard to get through Tragedy Overground by only playing 3 or lesses,
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And so I'm not like I'd hate to ever play against this deck because it seems really not fun. But it just makes sense. Like we're in this slower meta, and probably like the slowest like the game's been in a long time, honestly. So being able to capitalize on your opponents not being very aggressive, a lot of decks not having a lot of self-awakening, at least until we get the Zenkai format. I think having a self-awakener in your Z deck is silly. I think a lot of people are going to be playing that, and there's just a lot of I don't know. I don't know about you. I think SS4 Vegeta went on release. I understand like why it is, but now ramping 4 in a game that has such big bombs, I don't know. It seems a little scary.
Yeah, it's really strong. Especially in combinations with like Sensu Beans and stuff, and if my opponents aren't playing any like Borgoses, those type of cards that prevent me from wanting to untap on my turn. You can do some scary stuff. I mean, you could swing with him and just Sensu Bean up twice if you have it. Play another one, and then once you get that much energy, especially because it comes in active mode, like you said, and your floodgates are live. And, your bigger bombs, like you can answer stuff with Baby Ape on their turn and stuff. It's just becomes too much to handle. Also, one of the things I like to do too is you can play a Boo Unison after you ramp with Vegeta, which is really solid too. Just there's a lot of the card's really strong if
even
Miguel
just
is unanswered.
Resolving 2 Boo Unisons in the same turn, like +0 attack, play another one, you get to untap 2 at the end of the turn, and you drew 2 cards with this and got 2 20k double strike swings. Like it's just crazy. So
I spent a lot of time punching down my opponent's Unisons, their battle cards, and like I said, I never gave my opponents resources. That's the amazing thing about Beerus that I love the most, is that I can play almost like an entirely different game. I'm not worried about killing them. And then another thing, there's a lot of small incremental things about Beerus that I really like. One of them is that when you set Beerus down, you put a clock on your opponent and you say, if I get to 16 energy, this game is done. So sometimes people feel pressured. Well, he's at 10 energy now because he resolved Vegeta. He just hit me with a Gohan Floodgate. Well, let me try to push through.
I have to. This is the turn I have to. I lose no matter what next turn. And you might not even have the sauce, but you get a lot of their resources gone. Yeah,
and a lot of people did try to push through it, and then you play Vegeta and they start eating the energy that they tapped to play their cards, and then you block with Boo or you block with SS4, and you never give them a chance to actually hit your life.
Or you get them down to 2, and then you just hatch, and then they're like, well...
yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then they're like, well, I'm lost. So, it seems really strong, and especially since, we've seen so much of these just blue toolbox decks just do really good. Blue has a lot of, I would say, big energy cost cards that previously it's like, we're never getting to turn 4. That's silly. Why do we have a 5 cost card in our deck? We'll never get there. But And I don't know, ramp in Dragon Ball Super has always been like, if something starts ramping, it starts to get broken very easily, and we've seen that a lot in the past.
Yeah, I played Ramp Shenron a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and so
Yeah.
I love ramping, and I think it's really strong, especially like going first with this deck and
Yeah.
resolving a Whis, and then if they don't answer it, because a lot of times they can't
Yeah.
answer it. But then you go to 3 energy, and then they have a turn where your defenses are kind of down
Mm-hmm.
to kind of punch through, which is another thing I like about Zeno is that I can, if they do hit me to 5 life and they're presenting even more attacks, I can Zeno
Yeah.
untap an energy, and then if I need to Sensu Bean, if I need to play D Magic or Beerus Destroys, I have that available.
Yeah, but also just even if they get you down to 4, yeah, you can untap, draw 1, and then you bean up, and then you just are safe again. Like,
Yep.
it's and then you drop Majin Buu, and they're just sad. So I don't know. I'm gonna say it. I don't really say it. I think something has to happen with High Ramp Blue. I think High Ramp Blue is doing very good right now, and it's getting some spots. But I do definitely like the creativity and the insight of saying, you know what, we're getting these long games. It's very easy to ramp, especially with this Vegeta right now. 16 energy is not as far off. Like, even like you can do it in under 8 turns pretty consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you don't quote me on this.
Okay.
I believe the math came out to, I think like if you opened up like the nuts and you had all of your Sensu Beans and everything, I think like turn 6 or turn 7 was you could get to about 15 energy, or even 16, and then threaten lethal with your activate main the next turn. But like I said, it comes down to your hand and how many ways you have to extend your plays with Sensu Beans on your turn.
Yeah, but like most turns, you are just casually having twice as much energy as your opponent, because you get to, as you said, like on turn 2, you have 3. Your opponent's going to have like 1, then 2, right? And then after that, you Majin Buu. Like, as you said, probably Beerus never really resolves on the leader side, but even with all these, like, I'd say previously expensive ramp cards, they're totally worth it when they get there, and they just kind of complement each other. That it kind of gets out of control.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was running the Vegeta Super Combo too, just to kind of see some of these other pieces too.
Yeah.
Because this deck kind of fell apart in some places when I didn't see Buu Unison on turn 3.
Yeah.
And then I had one game where I charged up, I think it was to 8 energy or 9 energy without playing an SS4 Vegeta.
Oh my gosh.
And then I had not seen I think I charged one because I was like, oh, I'll see another one by
or
then.
I'll see a Zeno, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
never saw it, and then I finally got there, and then once I slammed him down, I think I saw another one in the top 4, so I think I kept it and then just resolved another one on the same turn. So as soon as I saw one, you just kind of run away with it.
So, well, cool. Well, real quick, I know this isn't a sideboard format. Any cards that you would definitely... I'm guessing that Isekai would probably be a sideboard card, or would you put that in the main?
I put it in the main just because it's kind of an annoying card for my opponent. I also sometimes, so when I charge the 4, I like to have something to use my energy on. I don't really want to play Zeno.
Yeah.
So having just an extra little card, it was either between Isekai and the
Borgos.
I think it's set 1 Bulma that searches the Whis.
Oh yeah.
Or set 2.
Yeah.
But I decided to go with Isekai because it's a little bit annoying for certain matchups. But just, that's a sideboard card. Probably stuff like maybe a 4th Vegeta Ready to Rumble. More Trunks counterplays.
The Vegeta Interceptor too. Is that card putting value? Would you probably bump him up, or is no?
Yeah, so I put 1 in because this is a 51 card deck.
Yeah.
And any more than that, and I was kind of worried about not seeing my Whis turn 1 and stuff like that. So I didn't want to mess with the consistency too much. But yeah, I would have one of him in the sideboard. He put in work for me. Because there's this point where you get the 5 energy and you kind of want stuff to do instead of just passing. So playing him to just hit threats on your opponent's side of the board was really good. So he definitely came into play. So I'd have him in the side. dirty burst,
Yeah.
more Shield's Army, just stuff like that I can put into
Hard
the
counter.
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and take out some of these cards. Like I would side out like the 6-drop Goku in yellow, stuff like that. So
But
I
yeah,
don't have a really definitive sideboard, but yeah.
yeah, but I think running as close to 50 because your turn one play is always Whis, and you need to see it very often. So yeah, I think that definitely makes sense for those gameplays. And then real quick, just to kind of wrap us out, what's probably the easiest matchup for this deck, and then the hardest matchup for this deck?
So I think yellow Trunks Jita. I think yellow overall, believe it or not, is actually the easiest for this deck. U7 can put out a lot of attacks, and just a 1 energy way to stop Gohan's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So I know yellow has cooler, but I mean that's a 3 energy investment that
which is like half their energy on turn 6 even. So
yeah, and Trunks Jita, I feel like wasn't ever, at least this tournament, they weren't able to pressure me enough to get me into a really low life total before I started stabilizing and having all the energy in the world to do whatever I needed to do. Gamma, in all my testing, one of my teammates, Alex, who got third, shout out to him. We came down with him and I where it was literally just almost like a die roll, where if I went first, I resolved Whis, and then I ran away with the game. Or if he went first, he knew how to play against his deck because he's played against it so much that he would just try to run me over in the first few turns and really put a lot of pressure on me and stuff. Gamma can go either way. U7, if they're super aggressive and are hitting their mills perfectly, I feel like they can do a lot. Baby Unison's really annoying because they just eat my 6-drop Vegetas, and that just takes away a blocker.
Yeah.
So I really don't. I feel like the slower matchups, this deck just has a leg up because of how far it ramps, and the alternate win con, I never have to worry about killing them. But I would probably say Gamma is one of the harder matchups for this deck, just because they can do blue things, and they can pressure my life total with a lot of really cheap battle cards and really energy efficient plays.
For sure. And like I think in general we're in a format where people don't necessarily care about winning as much as they care about getting as much value as possible. And winning the game is the most value as possible, for which means this one literally says if you get enough value you win the game, and I think that's again like the ultimate win con in a lot of ways.
Did I go over my matchups?
I don't think you did. Run through them real quick.
Okay, so round 1 I played green cooler. By the way, all my opponents were awesome.
Yeah.
I love competing in this game because people are always really cool. Round 1's green cooler. Kind of took his own life, so but it really didn't pressure me too much. I was able to defend and eventually just ran away on energy wise.
Yeah.
Round 2 mono yellow Trunks Jita. And then round 3, blue yellow Trunks Jita was the same way. They weren't able to pressure me super hard. Answered their battle cards. Yeah. Swung where I could. Pressured whatever unisons they played. And then ended the game, hatch, and then answered their cooler.
Yeah.
With, which, by the way, the thing about Vegeta that I like too is look at that top 4, and then there's my SCR. Making that,
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that. Round 4 is U7. Really, it was a close game. It came down to the wire. He just kind of slowly ran out of gas because he milled a lot of his really good cards, and then I answered them with like Beerus Effect or Beerus Destroys, like my leader effect, and Beerus Destroy, stuff like that. So I slowly answered his battle cards. He kind of ran out of gas.
For sure.
Round 5 and round 6 were both gammas. I won the die roll in all of my rounds except my last round.
Oh, gee. Well, that definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Then round 5 and 6 were gamma. Round 5 wasn't as close as round 6. Just got the energy lead. Finally saw my blue unison, which not seeing it on turn 3 really sucked. But eventually I saw it. Was able to stabilize. A lot of people kind of, I feel like, slept on this deck when they played it. Like, it's their old lead, it's Reboot Beerus. They weren't expecting how fast this deck could ramp. Yeah. So if they weren't playing, if they're even playing a little bit reserved and not swinging at me with everything that they had, then most of the time I just ramped up too far. And
again, like when I first saw this list, like, oh, maybe he resolved it once or twice that day, but I'm sure it's just like SS4. You just really obnoxious, and then eventually you get too much value and they can't win.
Yeah. No, every win was tap 16. And then round 7, my last round was against Gamma, and Alex won the die roll. I ramped up to 15 energy, and then he knew what to do. He played battle cards, and then hit me with Turning the Tide.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at 4 life still, and then he had way too many attacks and just ran through me Turning the Tide. So
Yeah.
And that ended the event, unfortunately.
I mean, it's still top 16, so not super unfortunate, but
Yeah, I'm really happy with how
yeah.
well Beerus did. But it's like when you're right there towards the end, you're one of the 3 undefeated. I was like, man, how cool would it be for Beerus to take this event?
Exactly. So, well, cool. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me. I do appreciate it. Any shoutouts to end the video?
Well, shout out to you for running this profile with me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fernando and Alex, my 2 teammates. Did a lot of testing with Beerus. Shot ideas back and forth with each other on ways to make this deck better, ways that we thought that this card was weak, that card was weak, etc.
Sure.
Just general team testing stuff. Yeah, shout out to all my opponents. Everyone was really cool and chill, and looking forward to seeing people at Nats and stuff this year.
Yeah, for sure. Should be super duper fun. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.